Welcome to episode 30 of WooWoo for the Skeptic. I'm Kim Polinder, your host and curiosity advocate for the world of metaphysics. As you may or may not have noticed, I'm no longer publishing regular episodes of this podcast. I'm not retiring the podcast, but I've been focused on a different media project related to my energy healing practice. I love how the last two episodes of this podcast are exactly where the bulk of my clientele now comes from, and that is animals and children. Today's episode highlights the subject of psychic children. Perhaps you've heard the phrase indigo child or rainbow child. There are more and more categorizations of psychic children coming out these days, and we could go down a rabbit hole of trends, waves, prophecies, etc. But for this episode, we're going to stick with the old school basics of indigo, crystal, and rainbow kids. Please enjoy. My guest today is Nikki Patillo, author of Children of the Stars, Advice for Children, Star Children, and Parents. And she just published a new daily calendar for teens called A Day in Spirit that is used by both kids and their parents. Nikki, thank you so much for joining the podcast and welcome.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for having me this morning.
Well, first of all, why don't you tell the listener a little bit about your background and how you took an interest in psychic children?
Actually, I have a degree in microbiology and a chemistry minor. I started out as a clinical microbiologist, went on to be a molecular biologist, then went on to write for the Food and Drug Administration. But my whole life, I've been psychic ever since I was a little girl. And I had some very scary experiences growing up in the 70s in Albuquerque. My dad was in the Air Force. We were at Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. My middle brother played with a Ouija board and brought a spirit in. And a lot of things happened. I was almost kidnapped. One of my first experiences is a Native American Indian man appeared in front of me and helped me get away from a man that was trying to take me. That was the first, last, and only case I did with the police department. But as I got scared, I shut these abilities down. But as I got older, these beings of light started coming to me, giving me wonderful messages, telling me that I needed to write and share these messages, and that my scary experiences that happened to me as a child will go on to help children all over the world. Because a lot of these psychic children's are very scared. They feel very lost, very alone. They feel misunderstood. And I've been there, done that. So I really know how to help them. So I said, listen, if you want me to do this, you're going to have to send me some help. And they sent me a woman that I met named Myra Logan, who's an animal communicator. And Myra helped me open my gifts. And I started writing and channeling.
Wow, that's a wonderful journey. Yeah, and I have heard from both friends who have intuitive children and just, people themselves who were intuitive children, just what you mentioned, that when you're young, you don't understand what's happening. A lot of them end up turning down their gifts, turning off their gifts because they're so scared. So I think a lot of parents might have this idea that, it's like a special situation. But the truth is that, all these kids coming to the planet these days are all intuitive to different degrees. So do you have any tips on how to recognize maybe if your child is having these intuitive experiences, is confused, and maybe they're not talking to the parent?
Oh, yeah. I get a lot of emails from parents telling me that their children are seeing and hearing things that other people cannot see or hear. These kids are speaking to their angels. They're speaking to their guides. Sometimes they're speaking to people who have passed on to spirit. And the parents aren't sure what to do. They're really not. And just like you said, Kim, I make this joke, 7 billion people in the world, there's 7 billion psychics, and it's absolutely true. Every single one of us, including every single child, is very psychic. We've got this little center in our brain, and if it's not developed by the time we're about 7, it tends to shut down. And then it gets harder to open up as we get older. So I'm so thrilled when I hear from parents that are noticing that their children They say they seem a little different. To me, it's the new normal. These children are not different. They're the new normal. They're psychic. They're seeing things. They're communicating with their angels. And you want to help your children develop this gift. Because when you keep open dialogue with your angels and guides, they help guide you, they help protect you. If you want to know if you should buy this used car, your angels will let you know yes or no. You can request an angel. You can ask for friends. You can ask for help. I make a joke at Christmas time. I order a parking angel, and they flock in their millions, and they're there to help you. But the number one thing I get from parents, getting back to your question, is, listen, I've got this child. I don't know what to do with her or him. They are seeing and hearing things that other people can't see or hear. It's such a loaded question, Kim, because I really don't even know where to begin.
Yeah. And to, maybe as a first step, like if they have never had that conversation with their child, what's a way for them to kind of just bring up the topic?
Well, I write back and I say, welcome to having a psychic child. Here's a few things you need to do. Recognize that your child has got this talent. Nurture it, develop it. Don't call them weird or different. Don't think that they're abnormal. They are not. I'll say it over and over, Kim. These kids, these psychic kids, it's the new normal. And they're everywhere. I have hits from 140 countries across the globe. These kids are coming as we all raise our vibrational frequency, and the vibrational frequency on the earth becomes higher. More and more of these psychic children can come in, and they're here to help us. They're here on a group mission to help all living and non-living things on this earth. No easy task there, but they're here to help us, and we really do need help at this time.
Now, a lot of terms get thrown around like rainbow child, indigo child. Do you have any, guidance or advice as to like if that's important, if it's not important? Like what do those terms refer to?
Okay, so there are a lot of different types of light workers that are here today. The three that I really specialize in are indigo, crystal, and rainbow children. But I'm noticing through my emails, all different kinds of emails, all kinds of people telling me about different types of psychic children. And I'm just finishing up my 4th book, which is going to be a huge comprehensive book called A Child Beyond, and it will encompass every type of psychic child that's here now. But the first 3 kind of psychic children that started coming in are the indigo, crystal, and rainbows. Each one of them has a specific purpose. The indigos have been coming here for over 100 years, and they have indigo in their aura. That's how they got named Indigo by Nancy Ann Top. They tend to be angry. These are warrior children. People who email me, I tell them, listen, if your psychic child is angry, it's because they're supposed to be angry. I know we live in this world where, we want to live through our heart chakras and live through love. But please know that some children are supposed to be angry, because when we get angry, change tends to happen more quickly. And these warrior indigos are meant to tear down these ancient and archaic systems that we've been living in, systems of school, of government, parenting, healthcare, you name it. They're all archaic and outdated. And these angry children are supposed to tear down these systems. And like I said, through anger, change tends to happen more quickly. What's not okay, it's not okay to hurt anyone, either through our words or our physical actions. But if they want to march, if they want to stand up for what's right, more power to them. So it's a bit of a sticky wicket, I like to say, with the indigo children. Their problem is they tend to suffer from depression. Indigo kids who are still started coming in the 1970s but are still coming in today tend to get frustrated. They're frustrated with our systems, and it makes them depressed. Often they're diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. And, the first thing we want to do is go out and medicate these children. And I can never tell another mother what to do. If your child is suffering from depression and you feel your child needs to be on medication, then that's what you need to do. They just need to know that it tends to lower their vibrational frequency. This doesn't mean that they can't go on to live their life's purpose of what they're supposed to do with this group mission. It just may take them a little bit longer. I don't know what your thoughts are on medicating kids that are depressed with ADD or ADHD, Kim.
It's easy for me to sit here and say, oh, that's bad because I see from an energetic perspective what prescription pills do to the aura and how that invites in drug entities and a drug attachment. So at the same time, I understand the, purpose behind it. But I just really encourage parents to maybe perhaps try alternative methods, look into energetic clearings, that sort of thing, because once you hit that prescription pill stage, it just invites in a lot of drug entities.
And I feel the same way. I feel absolutely the same way. But that's the thing about the indigos, ADD, ADHD, they suffer from depression. And there's easy ways to recognize indigos. They are very self-serving. They have a feeling that they deserve to be here. They may act like royalty. They have a lot of problems with discipline, a lot of problems with authority. And again, they're supposed to have these problems because they're meant to tear down these archaic systems that we're living in. They're nonconformists. They're creative. They're intuitive. It's really easy to recognize these children. The next kid that's come along, and they started coming about the year 1990, is the crystal children. And these are beautiful, beautiful, loving, caring, bright-eyed children. They have this ability to feel universal consciousness. If you have a crystal children, you would know it. They're much different from the indigo children. They're all about love, not about anger or tearing down things. They're about joining people together, moving in bigger movements. I find a lot of kids that are marching today and all these wonderful marches that are going on tend to be crystal children. They don't react to fear. They love music. They love bright colors. They don't like TVs. They don't like electronics. I know we live in this day and age where everything's electronic, but these kids tend to shy away from it. And if they do go towards it, electronics drain very quickly because they have such high vibrational frequencies. They really are amazing children. One thing about crystal children is they tend to have delayed speech patterns. So the number one email I get with people who have crystal children, they say, I have a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old child and my child doesn't talk. But they seem very bright. They can do things. But that's the number one thing you'll notice about crystal children is their delayed speech pattern. And I say, why do they need to talk? I mean, they're communicating psychically with their angels, their guides. They're trying to communicate with the parents psychically. So that's one big way to notice if you have a crystal child. They also don't like loud sounds or unnatural bright lights. They don't like being in big crowds or in concerts where things are loud and there's a lot of noise going on. These kids don't do well with sugar, caffeine, or unnatural food. It's kind of the old saying, you are what you eat. You want to put high vibrational frequency food in your body. I encourage people with crystal children as much as you can, give them organic food. I myself have a crystal child. She's 13. I've given her as much organic food as I can. And I found very early in life the food that I gave her with higher vibrational frequency, it really changed her energy. It changed her aura, everything about her. So it's really important to feed these kids good, healthy stuff, fish, the chicken, the stuff on the outside of the grocery store, the fruits, the vegetables. But these are very loving children. And their purpose is to pick up where the indigos left off. They're here to empower people, bring people together, and to start building on a new pattern that's better for all of us. And the last children that are coming along now are the rainbow children. They started to appear in the year 2000. There's not many of them, but as I said, as we all change our vibrational frequency and the frequency on the earth changes, and we go through these portals. About every 5 to 6 months, we go through these energy portals where the energy's changing. These kids are completely different from crystal children. They can eat all the junk food they want. Good for them. So happy for them. Right. And when I ask my angels about that, they show me their blood. There's something in their DNA, something in their blood that their ability to process junk food and still keep their high vibrational frequency. I mean, this is how special these kids are. Just amazing. Rainbows have strong wills and strong personality. They're very high energy. The number one email I get with children who have rainbow children is they don't sleep. They have so much energy, this high vibrational frequency. They're attuned to color and color vibrations around them. They're passionate and they're creative. They love bright clothing, colorful environment. They have natural telepathy, of course, but I've noticed about the rainbow children is they have amazing healing abilities. And what I get from parents is they tend to work on their sick or injured animals. So if you have a child that's kind of doing what looks like energy work or Reiki on your sick animal, you may have a rainbow kid. They are able to recover from negative emotions very quickly. And they have a natural ability to read people's feelings, and people are actually attracted to them. I get this a lot. People walk through a store and people just are attracted to them, and it's because of this beautiful vibrational frequency that they have.
Yeah, that's a great description of each child. It makes it pretty clear. Now, should they raise a child a little bit differently depending on what type of category they are?
Well, sure, absolutely. Of course, with the indigos, since they tend to be ADD, ADHD, maybe mildly depressed, you have to be understanding and loving and not give up on them. That's the number one thing I get about indigos is you just have to be a very patient parent. And of course, for crystal rainbows and so many other types of psychic children, not just these 3 specific types, is you've got to be open. You've got to be open and understanding that we're all psychic, every single one of us. We all are. And particularly these young kids, because that little center has not been closed down. So be open when they say mom or dad. I'm hearing this message, not as long as it's not a message about killing someone, that's not good. You could have an entity in your house, but their messages are always about love, messages of the heart. So be open to that. Listen to your child. Don't think that they're making it up. They are not making it up. It is true. They are really speaking to their angels and their guides.
Yeah, and that's a good point you brought up about entities, because on the child clients that I've worked on with their energy clearings, the parents have mentioned that, all of a sudden they said this thing and it really sounded nothing like their personalities. So what is your advice for recognizing if the child is hearing guides, quote unquote guides, that are not for their highest and best, or maybe how to recognize that they're tuning into an entity maybe in their house,
Well, of course, these children would be saying things that are negative, that are not dealing with the heart chakra, because an angel or a guide or their angels or guides are always going to give them loving messages of hope and of success and enlightenment. So if your child is saying something like, well, let me give you my example. Okay, I've got a great example for you, Kim. So next door, there was an old house. A couple lived there. They were doing drugs, taking a lot of medicine, drinking a lot. I knew the house had a couple of bad entities in it. I didn't know how many. I didn't want to tap into it. Well, the girl went to rehab. The guy ended up overdosing. The house went into foreclosure. We bought the house and tore it down and enclosed it into our property. Well, guess what? We took on that energy. And two things immediately showed up in my house. Never said anything to my daughter or my husband. I didn't want to scare them. But I saw a man. And the second thing I saw that really scared me was sort of a human body with a dog-like face and horns, something very evil. So my daughter immediately, because she's a crystal child with psychic, began to tell me, Mom, there's a man at the bottom of my bed. And I said, honey, what does he look like? And she said, well, he's tall. And I said, well, what color is his hair? And she told me it was blonde. And I knew this is one of the negative energies that came into the house. She could see him. He wasn't actually communicating with her yet, but it was just a matter of time. I was able to clear him out of the house, but this more sinister, I don't know what it was. It was really scary, Kim. Human body, dog, ram, I don't know what it was. I couldn't clear it out of the house. And I was actually really scared. And even my daughter knew, Mommy, something's still here. Something's still upstairs by my bedroom. And I knew it was. And again, he wasn't giving her bad messages yet. I was still catching this early. So I tried for weeks everything to clear this thing out of my house. Well, he began communicating with my daughter, telling her that she was bad and that she needed to do bad things. So this is one thing, if your child is telling you, your son or your daughter, that something's communicating you, telling you you're bad, that you're doing bad things, that this isn't an angel or a guide. I ended up reaching out to a friend of mine saying, I need to clear this out of my house. And she told me about a man named Joey Korn with a K. And Joey is a dowser. And listen, I don't know about everything in this world, and I didn't know about dowsing, but Joey does remote dowsing, shutting energy portals in homes, businesses, on land. So I gave him a call. I was slightly skeptical, but Joey, sure enough, did some stuff remotely, and this thing disappeared from my house. Just an amazing man, Joey Korn with a K. About 8 months later, it came back again, and I reached out to Joey again. I said, Joey, it's come back, and he did some extra things and ended up getting rid of this thing by really shutting the energy portal, which he didn't do the first time. But to circle back around to your question is, if your child is saying anything negative, that they're communicating with something that's not in their highest good, which is not their angel or their guides. And I know there's fairies, there's all kinds of things here that maybe we all don't know about or understand. But if they're saying negative things, that is certainly a red flag.
Yeah, that's great advice. And getting back to the portals topic, I've actually found, we all have portals in our bodies, and sometimes, due to soul contracts or something, beings, spirits are using the portals in the child's body, depending on what the soul contract is. So that's great that you found a resource and took care of it, because that is a very scary thing for children.
And so, Kim, what do you do? Because I didn't know that it was in the body. I knew that I had a portal in my house that was coming through, and maybe I misunderstood Joey. Maybe he meant it was coming through her body.
No, you can have both. You can have portals in the house. When it comes to the portal in a child, obviously you can't move that. And it would be, like belief clearings. Maybe they have a contract with some ancestor who's contracted with these types of beings and that sort of tie. So it's my approach is belief work. I don't know what Joey's approach is, but yeah, it's very interesting how over the lifetimes we develop these soul contracts and these belief systems that allow beings to kind of allow them to stick to us here and there. So
they do. And I know, because of course I live in Galveston, which is a very haunted little city. There's entities everywhere. Well, we had the great storm, the great 1900 storm that killed over 7,000 women, men, and children. So I find a lot of the historic homes are, I say, haunted. They have spirits in them. And, sometimes you buy a property and they just come with a property. But I have found, Kim, not all spirits are bad. Sometimes they're just there because they live there and this is their house or their property. Some of them try to help. And then some of them are not so nice.
Yeah, that's so great that you have that intuition to look out for your child and guide her. So,
and I'm just telling parents, if you like going on these haunted houses tours, just put some protection around yourself. It's so easy to do, Kim. You just have to simply ask your angels and guides to put a protective white light or protective bubble. Some people like doing grounding meditations, where you ground yourself, a beam coming through your head chakra down through your feet and grounding you. But it's super easy to ask for protection before you go do these things. I joke with my daughter, other parents teach their children, look both ways before you cross the street, or, never get in a car with a man or a woman that wants you to help go look for a puppy or a kitten. My advice to my kid is never play with a Ouija board. Don't go into a graveyard at night. This is my advice. It's different. And we have to be new parents, Kim. It's not the same old anymore. We've got to find our new way of parenting.
Definitely. Yeah. For a lot of these kids, I know that they sometimes have social challenges because of what you said before. They're called weird, or, if they talk about these things at school. Do you have any advice for when the kids are away from their parents and they're around these other kids and maybe are having challenges? Like, any advice for them?
Yeah. So my daughter's psychic, and she goes to a small school. Everyone knows that I'm an author, that I'm a psychic, that I channel. I used to be a volunteer librarian there for 2 years, and I'd found days where I could see my daughter talking to her angels. She would be talking in the library, like in a corner, like looking at a book talking. And I would say, Maddie, who are you speaking to? And she said, oh, my angel is here. And I'm talking with my angel about which book I should check out. And she was made fun of. And I could only stress to love your child, instill confidence in them that what they're seeing and what they're hearing and what they're believing is true. That we all have different journeys in this life. I cannot judge another. I can't judge an atheist or someone walking a different path from me, because we're all on this spiritual evolutionary path. So I can only encourage these parents to instill love, confidence, and trust in their children, that they're special, that they are really seeing these things. And kids will make fun of you, but stand up for what you believe in. Know that they have a different path. Maybe they're not quite as far along on the evolutionary scale. We're all here for our spiritual lessons and our spiritual advancement. But it's going to happen, Kim. It's absolutely going to happen. So just try and make your child strong and make them stand up for what they believe in. But I do find children take on the beliefs of their parents. So, children that were making fun of my child also made fun of me as a parent in social places that we were at. And I never back down. I never back down on my belief. I know who I am. I know why I'm here. So also understand that kids that make fun of your kids, it comes from the parents. It really does. But just be strong. And one day this incredible gift will be strong and it'll keep them safe. It will help heal them. It will help guide them. It's a beautiful and wonderful gift to have, and teach your child to be proud of that gift.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you recommend any resources for parents to find other groups of parents where their kids can maybe meet other psychic kids, or support groups in that manner?
Well, I find there are so many on Facebook, not so much on Twitter, but Facebook. There's a lot of like specific groups, like an indigo group or a crystal group or a rainbow group or a psychic group. But you can certainly Google and all kinds of things come up on the web. Gosh, I can't think of some of the old websites that used to be around where they had chat groups, but I know some of them are still around. I'm having problems as far as cities, like people actually meeting. I find everything is social media now, which is, almost as good as the real thing. But I do encourage people, if you do start a chat group, see who's in your city. See if you can meet at a park or meet for coffee, because group support is always helpful, and people sharing their experiences, both the good and the bad, helps us all become stronger and makes us better parents.
Yeah, definitely. And then what would you say to skeptics who don't believe in all of this psychic stuff and just think that kids are kind of a little bit crazy, or they just need some medication?
Okay, well, they're everywhere. And it's just, to me, rolls back around to kind of where we are on our evolutionary scale. I find specifically that psychic children tend to incarnate. I've written about reincarnation and karma. So we kind of live our lives, learn our spiritual lessons, go back to spirit plan, and then come back again with our soul groups. So we're just different places on our spiritual advancement. And, it's the yin and the yang of everything, the up, the down, the good and the bad. It's all here for spiritual lessons. So you will get that. And I don't want to judge them. My angels have told me one of the fastest ways to lower your vibrational frequency is to judge another person. We cannot do that. Even the people that cut us off on the freeway or don't believe in psychics or make fun of us, just be loving and understanding of them. Just know that they're out there, and it's all about these spiritual lessons that we learn. There's not a lot you can do about it. It's just going to come with the territory. But I find things are changing. My husband's in the good old boy oil business. And when we first started dating 18 years ago, I would go to conferences with him, and he didn't want me to talk about being psychic or who I was. And, I love and honor my husband, so I didn't do that. But, round and around, people ask what you do. Well, how do you get this information? Well, eventually it came out that I was psychic. And I swear to God, Kim, if I had a nickel for every one of those good old boys who looked me in the eye and said, I've never told anyone this, but I saw this thing, or I saw my dead grandmother or my dead grandfather. I find that even the biggest of skeptics, everyone's got a story, Kim, every single one of them. Everyone has seen something or experienced something that would be otherworldly or unearthly. I don't know how you want to, spiritual, however you want to check that box off. Everyone has a story. So I find even people nowadays who you think would not be open, they are open. They really, truly are.
Yeah. And I found just, in the psychology world, projections 101, that usually fears or criticisms are, just a mirror being reflected back of what their fears are, so not owning that, I guess.
Right. And fear is a big thing with psychic children. And Of course, you don't want to live your life in fear. The angels say this is not good for us. You know this. We all know this. You need to put your best foot forward. I was just saying that the quickest way to lower your vibrational frequency is by being judgmental. And I just wanted to very quickly give you the opposite side of that coin. The angels tell me the fastest way to raise your vibrational frequency is to be grateful, and grateful for both good and bad things that happen to us and happen in our lives. Because even through bad experiences, we still spiritually grow and still spiritually learn lessons. So whatever happens to you or your child in any day of your life, thank your angels and your guides for both the good and the bad thing.
Yeah, I love that. Now, with your book, so Children of the Stars, Advice for Star Children and Parents, who is the ideal reader for that book?
Psychic teenagers and people in their 20s and parents. There's a lot of advice of parents on how to help your psychic child, how to recognize your psychic child. There's all kinds of checklists in there to kind of help. I hate to say categorize them, but we kind of categorize things. That's what we do in life. And how to recognize who they are, what they need, what they should eat, pitfalls to watch out for, ways to help them, energy transitions, which is not just true for psychic children, it's true for all of us. I said earlier that we're going through these energy portals, and I tell parents and I tell teenagers and on up, people who email me, that it doesn't matter what type of psychic child you're born at. We're all becoming this sort of crystalline energy. We're all transitioning our energy as we grow. Our energy changes, for most of us, for the better. And a lot of things happen during that energy change. Sometimes we feel things in our body. We'll feel buzzing. Sometimes we're tired. We feel like we can't sleep and we're tired. Sometimes we get anxiety or have disrupted sleep patterns. There's all kinds of a range of physical sensations that happen. So know that it doesn't matter what type of psychic you are, you will become crystal energy as you grow older. I don't know if you felt that in your own life. Have you had any experiences, Kim, with seeing or hearing your angels or your guides?
Yeah, it's really, I shut that down early on when I was younger because I had horrible nightmares seeing kind of the types of beings that you described with the horns and just weird things. And the last time I remember was when I was 16, actually, and I had a very, very bad night with that. And that was the last time. I just shut everything down at that point, the last of it. And then it's only been the last few years that, I opened things back up. And so now I'm in contact again with opening my psychic senses and knowing that it's safe. But yeah, like kids, they can shut things down.
Yeah, it's the fear. It's the fear base. And I'm not sure how old you are, but when I was younger, Kim, and I started experiencing this, there was nothing on the bookshelf. There was Edgar Cayce, and that was it. Like, there was nothing, no resources, no internet, nothing to reach out and connect to other people that had these other fears. I just wanted to touch on one thing very quickly while I was thinking about it. I need parents and psychic children and psychic teens, 20s, 30s, however old you are, I need you to understand that 9 times out of 10, when you've agreed to come as a psychic on this group mission, you've also agreed to maybe incarnate into a family that isn't ideal. I have a lot of emails from teenagers and people in their 20s saying, I've had a very difficult family life, and this happens for a reason. I know you think I'm this psychic child should be this being of enlightenment. Why would they be born into a difficult family where maybe only one parent is loving and understanding of their gift? And I'm going to tell you why. They do this because we come from a plane of existence where we work from nothing but love. Nothing but from love in the heart chakra. So, in order to connect our souls to this very difficult three-dimensional energy here on Earth, we tend to come into families where it's difficult, where we're connecting to this hard energy here on Earth. We have to do it quickly, and we have to start transferring and changing that energy, shifting that energy. So that happens a lot. Please know that if you're a psychic child, psychic teenager, 20s, 30s, that, I understand that you may have had a difficult childhood or have had one or two difficult parents, and it happened for a reason. Please be loving and understanding of your difficult parent or parents. This was set up for a reason. It was set up for you to connect to this very harsh three-dimensional Earth and to transfer your energy. So accept that loving parent or parents, be understanding. Maybe as you grow older, you won't be able to interact with them, but that's okay. That's all right as well. But know that all happened for a reason. And that happens a lot, Kim. Happens a lot.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It kind of helps, at least for me in my personal experience, to recognize that, soul contracts, choosing parents, choosing each other to learn these lessons, coming into a family. Like, I'm adopted, so I have two family lines that I'm healing things in, so to speak, by, healing myself. So I really love that advice. It's hard to see, but for me, when I recognize that, I chose this.
Right.
It really gave me a lot of self-empowerment back. So, yeah, I love that you mentioned that.
Because you think, why would I choose this? Why would I choose something so difficult, so hard on your little soul and your little spirit? But you do choose it, Kim. It's lovely that you recognize that. And I'm sure you've grown spiritually leaps and bounds understanding that.
Yeah, and the gratitude, what you said, that's the quickest way. Like, you're having a bad day, reset. Gratitude is number one.
Yeah, that's it.
Even if you have to say it through gritting your teeth, like, just do it.
And I do that a lot. I tell people say, "Oh, you're so positive," but you know what, Kim? It took me 10 years of day-to-day work of working with my angels and my guides to constantly think positive thoughts, because we want to go straight to the negative. If someone's ugly to you, or you see someone being ugly in public, or someone cuts you off on the freeway, you immediately want to get a negative response. But always stay positive. Wish that person well, bless that person and move it along the road. I know it's hard to do. It took me a really long time to get where I'm at. You sound like you're there.
Yeah. Did you ever have a time in your life, or maybe you've noticed in your child's life, where you wished you weren't psychic? And then how did you overcome that and come to a place of acceptance?
Oh, God, absolutely. When I was almost kidnapped, when I was fourth or fifth grade, God, horrible, scary, scary experience. And, your parents don't understand. My parents didn't understand. My dad was very loving and supportive as I got older and started talking to him about it. I keep saying you just need one good parent or one best friend to understand who you are and why you're here. But in the end, Kim, it's an internal thermometer. You've got to find the strength within yourself to know who you are and why you're here, and to know that you're a soul that is brave enough and strong enough to take on this big bad world. I mean, it's tough here. So, it helps if you have a supportive parent or parents or brothers or sisters or best friends, but not everyone has that. So I always encourage teenagers that I speak to that you've got to reach within yourself. In the end, we are a soul that's here with our own difficulties, with our own spiritual experiences that we need to get through. So find the strength within yourself. And we are all strong. We really, really are.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention, for the calendar that you just published, what is the intention of the calendar for anyone who wants to use it?
Well, I wrote the calendar for my daughter because I really wanted her to have daily affirmations that weren't necessarily religious. It's kind of hard for me walking the line between religion and spirituality. My daughter goes to an Episcopal school, so she goes to church twice a week. And, I go to church maybe one Sunday a month. I always say, I don't need to. I talk to my angels every single day. Why do I need to go to church? But I do enjoy going to church. But it's this kind of line between religion and spirituality. And there's a lot of calendars out there that have to do with God and the Bible. And, I love that. Those are wonderful things, but I wanted something that was spiritual, that spoke to children and parents spiritually. Let me just look up and see what today's is. So it's more of a spiritual calendar than a religion calendar. And today, and I say, embark on a path of self-discovery, self-healing, and spiritual growth. Your decision to embark on a path of self-discovery, self-healing, and spiritual growth is one that requires great courage, perseverance, and determination. There's a truth to your purpose, and this truth always lies within your heart chakra. Often you have forgotten about opening your heart chakra to receive guidance from your angels, guides, and the universe itself while on your path. Remember to do this, and your road in life will be easier. And then I always end with a question or a little statement. And today the question is, how can you remind yourself to open your heart chakra on a daily basis while embarking on your path in life? So it's more of a spiritual calendar than religious. It's working on our spiritual lessons and the things that our angels and our guides want us to work on.
Oh, what a wonderful message.
It is. In 365 days of it.
Yeah. So again, it's called A Day in Spirit, and I'll put links in the show notes for how to purchase one.
You get it through Amazon or Crystal Spectrum Publication, the publishing house that picked that up, Lynn Sharp, who's absolutely fabulous over there.
Okay, perfect. Well, before I let you go, I was wondering if I could ask you just a few fun questions to kind of change the tune or the tone of the interview.
Great. Bring it on. Love it.
So you've talked about you being a psychic child. What kind of student were you in school? Like, did you like school, or were you teased a lot for being psychic?
I was teased a lot because I always knew things. So I was always the weirdo. Like, I always knew things that were going to happen, and people were fearful of me because I knew things that were coming. Like, I knew the fire alarm was going to go off that day, or, just things that I knew that my angels were telling me that I chose to share. So I took the brunt of being made fun of. But, in the end, I am so proud of who I am and who I've become, and that I can help children all over the globe accept who they are, why they're here, and how brave and strong they are. But it's fun now. Being psychic is actually cool. It used to be I was the weirdo. Now I'm the cool girl, right? So that's awesome. It's true. Everyone loves a psychic. Everyone wants to talk to the psychic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I found that as well.
So now I'm the cool girl. I'm not made fun of anymore. Just a little bit, but not much. So
yeah.
That's great.
The tide has turned. It's like all the nerds in high school who are now billionaire tech people.
That's right. Yes, I keep telling my daughter, date the nerdy guy. He's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's different. Now psychics are cool. And, Reiki masters, all of it. It's all cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And everyone wants their reading. Like, everyone wants the info.
Right.
So
absolutely. Who doesn't want to speak to their angels?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then second question is, what do you like to do on your day off?
Oh, my day off. Okay, so I'm a big runner. I run half marathons, but I run tough half marathons, like high altitude, or so I'm working up. I actually did an ultra race, a 205-mile 6-team ultra race. So I hope to do that again this year. But I'm trying to work up to be a marathon runner.
Wow.
So slowly but surely, and I love to paddleboard, and of course I love to read. I'm so busy writing, I never really get to take time to read, but I've discovered the Overdrive app on my tablet, which is the library, so I can check out these ebooks from home, which has just been fabulous. So that's my time off.
Any book you want to mention right now that you like?
Oh gosh, no. I can't even think of what I'm reading right now. I'm so sad. I actually have 6 books downloaded. I'm about to go on vacation. Spring break is coming up. Sorry, I can't even name one of them. But I like James Patterson. I like the forensic detective. I like the stuff about the serial killers. I don't know. That's we all have a weird side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. And then lastly, what is the number one thing on your bucket list?
I would like to hike a big mountain like Kilimanjaro or, just something challenging, something to challenge me physically, because I feel like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I've been challenged my whole life, and I've overcome these obstacles. And now I'm really liking the physical challenges. So on my bucket list, I hope to climb some big mountain somewhere in the world. I hope to do that.
Nice. That's a great goal. All right. Well, I wanted to ask you, do you offer readings or counseling sessions for people, or is it mostly just authoring books?
Oh, no, I do. I do 3 to 4 page angel readings for people for $50. They can contact me through my website, starchildren.info. And I love doing angel readings for people. I honestly really do. It's such a beautiful thing. Sometimes I get funky messages from spirits, relatives that have passed away, and I always put that in. But my biggest thing is I like talking to people's angels.
Nice. Okay. So we will put that information in the show notes as well. So, all right. Well, Nikki, thank you so much. This was such a lovely interview. You have found your passion for sure. And I love the work that you're doing in the world for kids like this.
Thank you, Kim. I really appreciate it. And if you need any information, or if anyone out there needs information, please visit my website. I have so much free information on there to help parents and psychic children. It's for free on my website.
Thank you for listening to WooWoo for the Skeptic. I really appreciate all of the loyal listeners who have given me such wonderful and supportive feedback over the past year. I hope that my new endeavors will be equally well received by you going forward, and I will be posting more episodes for this podcast, just not as regularly. And now for your moment of woo. This quote is from Lisa Bellini, who said, "We all have the ability to heal ourselves. I know I have done so. In the morning, know that you are loved, you are love, and you love." Have a great week, everyone.